first, we're going to start by building rapport. 4 basic ways of doing this. We're going to do them in all new ways. The first one is by asking questions. When you ask a crummy question, what kind of answer do you get? Crummy answer. What's the worst question that we all ask every day?
How are you?
How are you? Don't ask that question anymore. That's why I already primed your mind. I said ask people what's the highlight of their day, what's going well. What are they most excited about? Ask better questions, get better answers. When you ask how are you, do you build any rapport with people? No. Zero, right? Zero rapport. Nothing. If I tell you fine, good, okay, we have no new level of relationship there. Ask better questions. That's the first way to build rapport. Second way is by listening intently. Not just listening, because we all do that, but listening intently as if you're preparing to listen, as if it matters to you. So as soon as you write that down, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to think right now back to when you were a child. Back to one of your favorite childhood memories. If you had a crummy childhood, you could think of at least one memory that worked out well for you. It could have been 10 years ago, it could have been 20, it could have been 5, it could have been last week if you're still considering yourself a kid at heart. Think of your favorite childhood memory. See it on the movie screen. See it playing in front of your eyes. Listen to the sounds that you heard, all the laughter, all the giggles, the good times, the compliments, the appreciation. Feel how you felt in that moment. If you had a smile on your face then, put a smile on your face now. If you were laughing then, laugh now. I want you to experience this right now, and I want you to remind yourself of what it was like to be in that memory. Now I want you to prepare this memory as if it's a 30-second story you're going to share with your partner. So if it's not a memory you want to share out loud, change that story now. So go ahead as you've already done. Go ahead as you've already done. Open your eyes. Turn to the person on your left or right, your partner. So you may have 3. Here's what I'd like you to do. This one instruction only. I want you to share your favorite childhood memory with your partner, but I want you to keep one thing in mind. I want you to share your stories simultaneously. You have 30 seconds. Ready, set, go. Okay, stop. I'm getting some evil stare.
That was hard.
It's not working?
No, it was very hard.
Why not?
Both talking at the same time.
Can't concentrate.
Can't listen and talk at the same time. It's hard to concentrate, right?
I couldn't even make eye contact because I felt like I'm not listening to her.
exactly.
How can I get eye contact with her because I'm not paying attention
Just
to
seems
what she's
rude,
saying.
right?
And I wanted to listen to what she was saying, so I was sort of drawing mine out a little bit.
Me too. So would you say it's physically impossible then to listen for comprehension? I mean, we hear, the difference between hearing and listening is comprehension. To listen for comprehension and talk at the same time.
Yes.
Physically impossible, right?
Yes.
But each and every one of you are doing this every day of your lives, except you're not talking out loud. You're in your heads. Right? You've answered their question before they asked it. You've judged what they're about to say. You finished their sentences. Right? Yeah, don't do that. Give them a chance. It's called pausing. It's called breathing. It's called listening. Who knew? We're doing this each and every day of our lives. How do you feel when people really listen to you? Have you ever had that happen before? Like people actually listen. They're totally present for you. There's nothing more important than you on the entire face of the planet. How do you feel?
It makes you feel special.
You feel special, right? You feel important. You feel like they care. Yeah. How did you feel right now?
Confused.
Disoriented.
Silly.
It didn't work out so well. Scale of 1 to 10. How much rapport did you build? 10 being best friend, 1 being worst person on the planet. How much rapport did you build? Scale of 1 to 10.
1.
Well, we already got it.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
This on a scale of
Well, how
normal.
much more did you build?
0 rapport.
So said 1 to 10, we got 0. So just nothing. It's not even on the scale.
Yeah.
0. It doesn't work because if you're not listening, you build 0 rapport. If you want to build more rapport with people, and what's rapport? I mean, I'm sure we don't have to talk about this, but what is rapport?
Where you get along.
When you get along,
Connection.
it's a connection. Number 1, listen with the intent of listening, not responding. It doesn't mean that you can't respond. It just means that you're not planning it. That your plan is walking into the conversation to listen with the intent of listening, not responding. My wife did that with me 6, 7 years ago. I came down, I had what you call one heck of a day. I came back from work, I had a story to tell for 5 hours. For 5 hours, she didn't move. She sat there, she listened. She said, oh, and she was supposed to say, oh. She said, ah, and she's supposed to say, ah. And she didn't go to the bathroom once. 5 hours. I married that woman.
Good woman.
That is long.
Now, it doesn't happen like that all the time, but if you can go back to a place where you listen with the intent of listening, that's what you do when you're meeting a client for the first time. You really listen. You do seek to understand. I told my wife we would have the most perfect relationship if we always pretended we were just dating for the first time. You know, the honeymoon era, the honeymoon period. You treat each other with the utmost respect. You give 100%. You give everything you got. You buy flowers for each other. You call each other all the time. You know, you turn around, you text them, I miss you already, right? If you could treat your clients like that, your relationships, the people who are the most important to you, how much better would that relationship be? Whether it's client, colleague, kids, whoever. Think about that. It's about first listening with the intent of listening, not responding. Next, I also learned this. Listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. This is a lesson a lot of us need to learn. It's not waiting for your turn to speak. It's not saying, wait, I got something to say, I got something to say. What you're basically saying is, what you have to say is not important enough, because I have something to say. It's not waiting for your turn to speak. This is actually one of my participants taught me that. Third note, we tend to hear what we are listening for. That's where a lot of breakdowns in communication happen as well. We tend to hear what we're listening for. You've been in a conversation before. I can't think of a specific example off the top of my head or the bottom of my foot, either way. But we tend to hear what we are listening for. Meaning, if you think somebody should have been on time, and for whatever reason you were thinking, oh, they should have been on time, they're always on time, this and that, and they come in, they tell you a story, you hear what you're thinking of. You hear what you're listening for. You hear what's going on in your mind, not in their world. It means step outside your world and listen to what they're saying. You've been in that experience before, right? I mean, I can't think of an example. I'm a terrible presenter at this point. I'm feeling really down about myself. Can somebody help me out?
Well, I know I do that with my son sometimes. You know, I kind of have a feeling of what he's going to tell me, and he'll start talking, and I'll just kind of hear what I was expecting, you know, and then sometimes I don't fully absorb what he's really telling me.
And he's like, Mom, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That'll work. I feel better now. Thank you. Next note, we only hear what we understand. We only hear what we understand. If we don't understand it, it doesn't make any sense to us, we're not really listening. We're not really paying attention. It doesn't matter at all. We only hear what we truly understand. So if you don't understand, ask questions so that you can really hear it, so that you can listen. And the last note, listen for the deeper meaning. You know, they say listen between the lines, read between the lines, same idea. Listen for the deeper meaning. What are they really saying? When my wife comes home and I ask her, how are you? How was work? And she goes, oh, it was okay. What does that mean?
It wasn't great.
It wasn't great. It probably wasn't okay either, right? If I listen to the deeper meaning, I'm going to say, all right, well, help me understand. What was that day like? You know, what was not okay about it? And I do this with her now. I made the mistake many years ago, it's probably 4 or 5 years ago, where I asked her, how was your day? And up and down and up and down. It was a good day, it was a bad day, it was a good day, it was a bad day. I didn't understand how the day was. So I had to interrupt her. I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand. You know, I'm not understanding. So coming back to we only hear what we understand, there's only a couple times where you can interrupt somebody, or you should. One of them is when you don't understand what they're saying. So I said, please help me understand, was this a good day or a bad day? She said, oh, it was a good day. I said, okay, now I understand why I'm listening. That's what the male energy wants from the females. Male energy wants to understand why we're going to watch this movie. Female energies, they want to tell the story. And so it's good to understand the two differences, so we understand what is that deeper meaning between what they're saying. When you ask a guy how his day was, what does he say?
Fine.
Good, fine, okay. That's his whole day. It's good, it's fine, whatever. That's it. One word answer, because he got to the point. Next question, please. It's usually how a typical male responds. Typical male. Typical female gives you the stories. So it's about understanding what's the deeper meaning and how do they communicate with us. We teach people how to treat us. So how do they want to be treated?
Well, how do you get to the deeper meaning for the fine? Yeah, good, okay. You know, that's harder. For me, maybe that's my feminine side. But because the story seems like it's easier to pull that deeper meaning.
Oh, sure. Ask. Say, well, what was fine about your day? Use their words, not say what was great about your day, because he'll say, I said fine, right? What was fine about your day? What was the finest thing in your day?
Well, I think it's good.
And then you'll hear.
Because then you get the more.
And he may only say 6 more words. And then you ask something based on that. Never ask a yes or no question that doesn't get you any answer. Right? So ask open-ended questions. What was the finest part of your day? And he'll say, well, this deal at work went really well. Well, what deal? Is it the one you were talking about with me last week? Then you get to really what he's talking about. Does that work for you? Okay. Third, seek similarities. I just like this picture. Seek similarities. We do too. However political you are or you aren't, I'm not going either way. I just thought it was funny. And there are a couple of ways to do this. So I want to give you one way to do this right now that is the most amazing way. If you Googled me or any of my other videos, if you saw them, you'll see I actually do this on video, and it's on YouTube as well. It's one of the most fascinating things. You can build rapport with anyone in 5 minutes. You can build rapport with someone you have rapport with even better in 5 minutes or less. So I'm going to share with you how to do this. So what I want you to do is just picture with me in your mind a house or a home. Whatever it is, a house or a home, the first thing you see is a what? House or a home. I'm going to give you the answers before. Right? What's the first thing you see?
House.
A house, right? And then the front door opens and a whole bunch of people come out. Little kids, adults, all kinds of people come out. And the adults come over here and the kids come over here. The kids talk about all the things that kids talk about, and they play and they have a good time. They entertain themselves. They play with toys. They have fun, right? The adults come over here and they talk about all the things adults talk about. Work and chores and work and pets and work and bills and work, and they talk a lot about work, don't we? Right? And then you see the clouds blown out of the way, and you see the word vision written across the sky. The first thing you saw is a house, right? And the front door opens and people come out, kids and adults. The kids came over here and talked about
Kid
stuff, fun stuff. They played, entertained themselves. The adults came over here and did what?
Talk about
About work, right? That's what we do. And then you see the word vision. If you can remember those 5 things, you can build rapport with anyone and everyone in 5 minutes. And if you're thinking, well, why would we talk about those things? We're going to do that in a moment. I just want to ask you a question. Have you done this? Have you applied this at all? Has it worked for you? So what I'm about to do makes sense. Because you did ask me to do this. Just checking. Okay. So here's what I'd like you to do. Here are the 5 words. Home, family and friends, entertainment, work, and vision. Those are the 5 things. Start with home, because home is where the what is? Heart, right? Home is where the heart is. But most people start the conversation at work. And if people don't like their work, it immediately goes, conversation goes sour. Start with home, because most people love where they live, or the people they live with, one or the other, usually. And then ask about family and friends. Then, entertainment. What do you like to do for fun? What's interesting? What do you do on the weekends? Is there anywhere to go out around here? It could be any kind of question like that. Then work. And lastly, vision. So what I'd like you to do is, everyone knows everyone fairly well? Alright, so then just work with your partner on this. I don't care how well you know them. You can ask different questions that you can learn new things about them with these 5 questions. So I want you to take 5 minutes. Do that. Okay, freeze. Freeze. This worked out perfectly, and it always does. That's not called freezing. Put it down, that's fine. Go back to where you were just before I said freeze, because I know everyone moves a little bit. All I want you to do, and this is always harder for a group of 3, but all I want you to do is notice what you look like as compared to your partner. Just take a look at your body, take a look at your language, take a look at the way you're leaning, take a look at where your head is, where your hands are, what you're doing with your legs. It's always harder for a group of 3 because there are 3, so I'll explain what happens here. Take a look at these 2 ladies. Look at what they have in common. They both turned about the same degree towards each other on their chair. They didn't turn their chair, they turned their bodies. They both have their legs crossed. It's a reflection, a mirror reflection of where their legs are. They both have or had their hands on their laps, and they both use their hands to talk. They both have their heads directly looking towards each other. We come around back this way. They both have one elbow on the table. They both have their legs crossed. They both have that same degree of turn towards each other. And now you knew I was going to do this. Did you consciously think about this, or did you just end up like that? Just ended up like that. She knows.
We're both fidgeting our hands.
And you're both fidgeting your hands. Now we come over here, and there's, again, a difference because there's a male and female, but still they built enough rapport where they turn towards each other. They're both looking directly at each other. and they're both very open with their body language. Coming over here, the difference is there's a barrier. This guy, right here, right in the middle of these two.
Always there.
I'm not feeling too special right now.
No, it's not that he's the barrier, it's that there are three people. If there was a table in between of you, that would be the barrier. But what happened is, Jeff opened up and he said, Jeff, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he opened up, he said, all right, well, I need to be open to the two of them. So he leaned back to allow everyone to see each other. And the two of them leaned in. Like bookends. Exactly. Right? Do you see what's happening here?
I find sometimes that I am mirroring somebody's body language, and then I become self-conscious. But I realize that, they have their thumb in their mouth, and I'm doing the same thing. And you just sort of, do you ever do that? And you sort of realize it, and then you become self-conscious, like they think that you're mimicking them, but you're really not. It's or you're like this, and they're like that, and then you think, ooh,
They don't even know.
Yeah.
Because you did it right now.
Yeah.
Were you mimicking her?
No.
No? Were you mimicking her? Or did you think you were mimicking her?
No. Mm-mm.
Did you feel offended because they looked exactly like each other?
No.
No, not at all.
We found a similarity there. We both feel comfortable
Yeah.
sitting in the same position.
And I'll ask this question, then I'll explain what just happened. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how much rapport did you build? 10 being best friend, 1 being worst on the planet. Just with this 5-minute activity, how much rapport? 10. So we moved from a 0 before, where you weren't listening, right, just a moment ago, to a 10, because you were talking about what's most important. You were talking about similarities. You were talking about values. That's what these 5 are: home, family, friends, entertainment, work. So they're values to you. Your vision is just the future. The future 4 questions. That's what that is. And here's why it happened this way. Because when you build a rapport with someone, you begin doing what they're doing. You become a chameleon subconsciously. You don't even think about it. That's what each and every one of you did. Imagine if I let you go for 10 minutes. Do what they do with their body. Be a chameleon with your body. Motion creates emotion. The way you move is the way you feel. You don't have to match their tone. You don't have to match their words. If you match their body, you instantly become more like them. I'll tell you why in a moment. So if you walk into a group of people and there's 15 people standing around the circle and they're all doing this, and you walk in there like this, what are they going to think about you?
That you think you're Superman.
Or Peter Pan. Right? You do it this way. Right? You're an outsider. You're totally different than everybody else.
Yeah.
But if you walk in there just like this, you're just like them. It doesn't mean you have to be like them, but you now blend in. You become more like them. You're not an outsider. You have something in common. We like people who are like us. We figured that out before. Now you actually did it. Subconsciously, you don't even know it. So wouldn't it make sense then, if you want someone to like you more, do what they do with your body? Wouldn't that make sense to consciously do that? You do it long enough, you don't even think about it. I do this all the time, and I catch myself. I look exactly like them, and I realize, I did that, but I've been training myself to do this. When you do it long enough, you become just like these people. And then when you talk, double it up, when you talk about values, what's most important to people, rapport shoots through the roof. Personal example, showed you my house. We just moved into a house. We don't know anybody in the neighborhood. Nobody. So our neighbors invited us over. There's a guy, Tim, his wife, Jen, and they have a little son who was 2 at the time. We have nothing in common with them. They're a couple of years older than us. They have a kid. They've lived here for 4 years. We're like, this isn't going to work. At least that's what my wife thought. Me being professional development coach, I said, I have a plan. So just follow my lead. So we're walking over, and my wife said, this is going to be really strange or awkward. They're cooking dinner for us. They don't even know what we like, what allergies we have. This is going to be strange. I know, you see the face? That's the face I made. I was like, I'm allergic to the world here. So not going to work out. But I said, I have a plan. Don't worry, sweetheart. 3-4 hours go by. We're walking home. My wife said, I really like them. We have so much in common with them. And all I thought was, I know. Because this is what I did. I took them through this process, but it doesn't seem like a process because it's what people want to talk about. So the first thing I asked them, I said, how long have you lived here? What made you buy this house? What are the neighborhood? What's the neighborhood like? What are the people like in the area? And it would slowly flowed right through the conversation. Do you have family in the area? Where did you move from? Where do your parents live? Did they live close? Did they help you take care of your kid? And before we knew it, we had everything in common. We were best friends. This guy I play basketball with every Sunday. If you could do that with your friends, I mean, couldn't you do it with your boss? Couldn't you do it with your colleague? Couldn't you do it with your clients? If you can move with people that you know to a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, you can at least move with clients to a 5. At least. I do it all the time, and guess what? It takes 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes. Is that easy?